Well, hey, good morning, and it is a beautiful morning. I'm going to put this up on both channels because I'm going to be answering a question from a viewer, actually, who over on the American Reversion channel, who asked me this question yesterday. I think it's a great question. I never would have thought of it. So welcome to everybody on both American Reversion and Integrative Preparedness. There may be other people. There probably are a lot of other people who kind of wonder about this, and I had never, to be honest, given it any thought at all. And it was on the video that I did yesterday on American Reversion about West Point, requiring the cadets to take the jab. And these were people who had put in for religious exemptions. They denied them, advised them that it was, this isn't going to be about the jab. This is going to be about YouTube. This is going to be about YouTube as a business. So anybody that says, I don't want to hear about the jab. Anyway, they let these cadets know on Friday afternoon that they needed to take it before and show proof within 24 hours, or they're going to get the boot. And what a horrible situation. It was just a disgusting situation as far as I'm concerned. It's one of the reasons that well, I'll hold that for another day. But anyway, one of the comments on, and if for those of you on Integrative Preparedness, if you'd like to see that, just go to American Reversion channel. The link is always down below. And watch that video. It's it's disgusting what West Point has done on that, and whatever. Anyway, one of the questions, and I don't remember who it was from. I do remember that I believe he was retired military, and he asked a very interesting question. Something about my opinion of YouTube as a business. And I'm not sure, he didn't go into explain, why he wanted to know. Maybe he's thinking about doing it himself, or, just wanted my opinion. And at least that's how I took his question to be. What do I think? Can I discuss YouTube as a business? And in there he said, or does your agreement with YouTube allow you to do that? I'm not sure if he was going somewhere else with that, because I don't know why it wouldn't. But anyway, so I said, that is a good question, because there's so much about YouTube that people understand, don't understand, have different thoughts about. Some people think it's great, some people think it's horrible, and so I'm just going to tell you what I think. Now, and for any of you out there who think, I'd kind of like to have a YouTube channel. Well, how should I do it? What about this? What about that? There are probably people out there who can give you a lot better advice on that than I, but I'm just going to give you my advice. I am a writer. Why then am I on YouTube? Well, you see, the fact that I'm a writer had everything to do with why I started on YouTube. And it kind of has to do with, we'll get into the disagreements. There are disagreements. Can you imagine that? There are disagreements among people on YouTube, just like everywhere else in the world. Well, I started my first channel, and we're going to get into Patreon too. I started my first channel, I don't know, several years ago, 3 years ago, something like that, as a way to kind of advertise and answer questions about, because I had a lot of questions that people would ask me, email me, things like that, having to do with my first book, The Reversion. And I thought, and I talked to my son, my oldest son, and I kind of got his, because the kids were always watching YouTube. I watched a lot of YouTube. I watched YouTube, and I had seen preparedness channels, and I could see all sorts of things, and I said, well, I wonder what it takes to do that. I never really intended to. I never really wanted to. Didn't think that I'd enjoy it. Didn't think I'd be any good at it. Because even though I've spoken, I've been an instructor of many things over the years. I speak publicly. I'm a public speaker on different subjects. somehow the idea of sitting in front of a camera or a phone or whatever like that and just talking didn't appeal to me. But I thought, well, this is the way that I could reach a lot more people with answers and explanations and thoughts and things about my books. And it was really driven by the questions that I would get. So one time we were down at Big Cedar, that's where we go a lot, the resort down at Table Rock Lake in southern Missouri. And I told my oldest son, I said, let's go down to let's just run down to the lobby, the main lobby, and sit there and see if I can kind of put together some kind of a welcome video, we'll see about putting together a channel. So we did, and we went down there, and it was a rather poor attempt at a video, and he just held the phone sideways. We didn't have a tripod or anything. He just kind of held it, and it was, he did his best not to shake. And so I did it, and I didn't really like it, but I said, well, okay, I'll put it up. And then I said, well, may as well do another one. And then you see, gosh, 2 people watched it. How about that? And then it went from there and there. I should have probably started with my opinion of YouTube rather than my story, but I'm not going to start this over again to do that. I think there are some people that think that YouTube is fantastic. There are some people who think YouTube is horrible. I think it's fantastic, and I'll tell you why. YouTube is the most amazing resource that has ever been, in my opinion. I mean, the great libraries of Alexandria, right? All this kind of stuff. The Library of Congress. No. There is nothing that you can't learn by going on YouTube. There is a YouTube video about almost anything you could possibly want to know. You want to know how to fix a car, you can find it on YouTube. You want to know how to rebuild your house, you can find it on YouTube. You want to know how to do yoga, you can find it. You can find anything on YouTube. Some of it's from professionals, some of it's from hobbyists, some of it's from just kind of whatever. I mean, you want to watch kittens play with a ball of yarn, you can find it on YouTube. And so I think it is a fantastic resource. It allows anyone to come on with no expense on their part, absolutely no expense, and be able to expound whatever wisdom or drivel they feel like they want to within certain boundaries. Now, that's one of the problems that a lot of people, and especially, I think it's worse in the preparedness circle than probably anywhere else. I don't know, maybe politics, but as long as you stay within the boundaries, you're fine. Now, you see, I don't have any problem with that at all. And here's why. A lot of people have problems. Well, you can't say it's, this and that and the other thing, and it's censorship, and well, okay, sour grapes. Go start your own platform, and where you can do anything. Here is a company that has put in billions of dollars to allow you to spread your thoughts around the world 24 hours a day. Now, the reason that I don't have any problem with there being restrictions, I used to publish a martial arts magazine. I used to publish a fitness magazine. I've done many things. And people would send in articles, say, hey, and a lot of times it was for them to promote their system or their style, or maybe they were just interested in it. And as long as they had some experience in it, and I would review it, and it had to stay within my parameters. It had to. Do you know why? Well, you all know why. Because it was my magazine. In order for me to print what they had set in, I was going to assume the cost, right? Okay, so I was going to do all the layout. I was going to put in all the time every month, an entire month of time. That was my business. I would spend putting together this monthly martial arts magazine, and then support it by the advertising sales. Now, in order to sell advertising, there had to be a couple of things. And that is, there had to be content that interested people so that they would buy or get the magazine or subscribe to the magazine or pick up whatever. And there couldn't be things in there that were inappropriate. Okay, if I allowed, say somebody from one system, wanted to promote his wanted to say everything that was right about his system. Good, I got no problem with that. If he wanted to bash another system, no, I'm not going to do that. Do that on your time. You're not going to use my vehicle that I built to bash somebody else. Okay, even if I disagreed with the other person, I'm not going to let you bash them. And besides that, people would find that unseemly. They would find that offensive. That would then destroy my readership of my magazine, right? You all understand that. And so I had those parameters. Well, YouTube has the same things. You have to stay within certain guidelines. And a lot of people just can't stand that. They think that, First Amendment, which it has nothing to do with the First Amendment. And they think, and there are those, and I think it's, like I said, it might be worse in the preparedness. I don't have a lot to do with other YouTube, I don't have any insight into the other YouTube types of things. But there are those in the preparedness world that just think that you're just a sellout. If you won't talk about certain things, or if you won't say certain words, or if you won't do certain things, or whatever like that. I mean, okay. And usually those people are using the YouTube platform to promote their personal opinions, and there is nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all wrong with that. And I never criticize them, and usually others never criticize them. But let's take this back to YouTube as a business. So like I said, I started this as a way to promote and answer questions about my first book, The Renewal. YouTube did a great job. My videos on YouTube did a great job in promoting the sales of this book. This book exploded. Now, it was already selling very well before I started YouTube, but I'm sure that YouTube did a great job in just making the sales of this explode all over the world. After that one, I said, okay, the revival. Now see, right now I'm showing most of you what YouTube can be good for. Promoting what you do, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. There's nothing wrong with that, because I have been, some people have come on my channel and says all he does is try to sell his books and gets people to his Patreon channel. I'm going to get to Patreon in a minute. It sold that very well. Then the next one, and I sold that very well. And then the next one, and I sold that very well. And then the next one, and I sold that very well. And now if you're with me very often, you'll hear that usually when I come on, the first thing that I say is, this video is brought to you by the Stonemont series. See, those are my books. And then I tell people the way you can get them is down below in the links. And how you can get them, through Amazon or from me or whatever you want to do it. Well, see, this was part and parcel. It's all part of the business plan. Now, when I shoot videos for integrated preparedness, and especially for that, because I don't do a lot of advertising over on American Version. That's more political. But I think I do still say that it's brought to you by my books, because you see, that's why I did it. I hope he finds the muffler shop. I have taught many things in my life, like I say. Occasionally, and here now we're getting into the business of YouTube. Occasionally, and I'll tell you how much money can be made in YouTube too, all right, in a minute. Occasionally I'll be asked, have been throughout the years, to come and give seminars or speeches to different groups. And I do it without pay. Some things you do without pay. Some things you don't. I mean, I have friends who are on the speakers tour, and they charge for every speech they give, and they make great money. Do you know why they can? Because people want to hear what they have to say, and they will pay for it. Now, even though I've given a lot of speeches for free, I have also charged for some. And those things that I do for a living, I charge for. So when you do something, if you're wanting to share information, if you're wanting, let me put it this way, if you're wanting to share expertise, there is absolutely nothing wrong with monetizing that, because when people come onto YouTube, they don't pay anything. But what happens is, if you have built your channel to the point to where people actually want to watch it, they will monetize it. And so that's where, you put ads on here. And it doesn't cost the viewer anything. It's just like watching TV or listening to the radio. Nobody ever complained about Rush Limbaugh having advertising on his show, did they? No, I'm no Rush Limbaugh. I'm not comparing anybody. I loved Rush. Nobody ever complains about the commercials on their favorite TV show, whatever. They and people like who buy magazines, and especially like gun magazines and stuff like that, they never complain about all the ads in the magazine. I bet they read every ad in there, But somehow people like to slam people and think that you shouldn't make any money off of YouTube. Well, I disagree. Now, if you're just spouting your opinion on something, then, hey, if people are willing to pay or come on your channel enough to make YouTube it worth YouTube's time and effort to put advertising on it, great. You'll get a few pennies. You don't have to monetize, but if you want to monetize, there's nothing wrong with that. And after a while, you can make some pretty good money. There are others who are hobbyists. People get onto YouTube for various reasons. Hobbyists just kind of get on there because they want to talk about their hobby. Great, nothing wrong with that. They don't advertise. Good, because they enjoy doing it. And this kind of becomes their world. It kind of becomes, their friends and everything like that. Nothing wrong with that. There are other people who come on to inform. Good. There are other people who come on to promote their business. Good. That's America. That's capitalism. This is the way they have put their own effort into being their own advertising, just like I did my books. There are other people who come on to really build a business. And whether it's a business or, just, to make money as their vocation. These are the people who in one world take a lot of hits. Oh my God, dude, these people take hits. I'll talk about that in a minute. You can go on and see a kitten playing with a ball, right? Or you can go, my kids love watching this Dude Perfect. These guys that get together and they do all these trick shots and stuff, and it is amazing. I can sit there and watch it. And then there are these other channels that, what are they called? It's where people like eat stuff real close and make all the noises. ASMR? Oh my God. Oh, people love that stuff. And I don't. But you know what I'll give those people? And some people just think that that's just horrible. But you know what these people have found a way to do? They have found a way to make money that's not hurting anybody. It's not hurting anybody. It's obviously fulfilling, an enjoyment need of someone, or else people wouldn't be watching. But you go on those things, I make a video, I'll get a couple of thousand views, right? You go to those, 2 million views. Who's smarter, right? Who does a better job at promoting themselves as putting something out there? You know what business is? Putting something out there that the people want to consume. If people want to watch somebody eat a peach all sloppy, who am I to say that that's wrong? It's not wrong. They're saying, I'm going to eat this, and people are going to... Yeah. Hey, they're making a living at it, and they're not hurting a darn person. The same is true but they take it in the preparedness world. I am amazed. There are some channels that are huge, Probably, if you're watching this and you're not familiar with preparedness channels, probably and maybe he's not the biggest. He's the biggest one that I'm familiar with, and I don't watch a lot of preparedness channels. And there's one called Canadian Prepper. Okay, I have not watched very many of his videos, but essentially what he has done, he has created. I watched one where he tried to stay all night in the back end of his truck and see how cold it was, and you know, he promotes a lot. I guess he's got an online store. He sells a bunch of stuff. He is one of those that says, you know, better watch out, the world is ending pretty soon and all that. Okay, that's his hook. That's his hook. You tell me how that's different than the newspapers or the radio, which, you know, people also, you know, cut down. Well, he has built a business. He's built a tremendous business. I'm sure he is making a bundle, you know, okay? Now, other people don't like that. A lot of times I think they don't like it because they're jealous, because they haven't figured out how to do it, or they, you know, whatever. And they will say, I just don't want to scare people, fear porn, you know, all this kind of stuff. Well, you see, this is entertainment. This is the world of entertainment. Now, you know, infotainment, right? Those people have figured out how to do it, and they make a bundle. There are some other channels that aren't like that I happen to know through both YouTube and their Patreon. They are making an excellent living, and why shouldn't they? Because they are sharing their knowledge, they're sharing their background, or they're doing reviews or gun reviews, or, you know, they're reviewing gear. People like that. They buy a magazine. It's no different than buying a magazine so you can look at the ads and see what gun is better and what tent is better and what knife is better and what, you know. People like it. And so, you know, that's one of the first things to, you know, say, if the question was because you're wanting, you know, you're thinking about doing a YouTube channel, you know, kind of figure out what slot you're going to be in, you know, or you just want to inform people. Is it just a hobby? Do you want to build it into a business, which you certainly can? I never intended this to become any kind of business. I mean, I'll tell you why I monetized. The more, as I made a few, people started coming on and making comments and asking questions, and so I started spending more time with it. Okay, as I spent more time with it, now I don't need friends, nor do I need one more thing to do in my life. I don't come on here to fulfill a need for myself, just so I can spout off and get people to listen to me. But so as I was finding that I was spending more time, I monetized. Because if I'm going to put my time and effort into this and also share my expertise, and I have experience in a number of areas that most people don't, and so I'm going to share that. And guess what? It's worth something. It's worth something to the one who wants to pay for it. If it's not worth it to somebody else, guess what? YouTube allows people not to subscribe or not watch. Okay, so it's not like anybody's being forced to watch this. Okay, but as I put more time and effort into it, I said, well, okay, this has become something that I put time into, and the things that I spend time into, and unless it's, you know, things that I do for my family or things that you know, I do for you know, just to help people, I may as well make some money off of it, and so I monetized. The next step was Patreon, because there were things that some people wanted to support. They want to support channels. When you put on a Patreon channel, you can make decent money at it if people want to watch you. You see, that's the thing. If people don't want to watch, you're not going to make any money. But if people want to watch you, you can make a lot of money. Now you're saying, do you make a lot of money? No, I don't make a lot of money. You know, I make decent money doing this. I'll be honest with you. I make decent money. Between YouTube and Patreon, I make decent money. Now, is it all of my income? Not hardly. No, not hardly. You know, because I'm not a YouTube guy. I'm a writer, but remember, that's where it all started. And if you do something else for a living and you want to do YouTube to promote it, do it. And then if it finds out, you know, say you're an HVAC guy, and you decide, hey, I'm going to do a little YouTube and answer questions that people ask me all the time. So you start doing it. Well, you see, now your business can be, if they want to watch it, your business is all over the world. It's not just your city. And if you want to really get into more detail, you put in a Patreon account to where people have to pay $1 a month or $5 or whatever it is to either support you or to get access to that additional information. That's what my Patreon accounts do. You get additional stuff if you join Patreon. Why should I have people say, if you really cared about people, you'd make it for free? Really? Do you do what you do for free? So you can do that, and all of a sudden now you have a worldwide consulting business. Does that make sense? Okay. I teach people how to shoot. Many of you didn't know that. Matter of fact, I'm going to have a video coming up about that pretty soon. But yes, I have taught people to shoot for years. Do I promote my shooting classes? No. I guess I could, but I do occasionally touch on gun issues. See, so that's another draw. Gun channels have a lot of draw. If you know about guns and you want to put in a channel, talk about guns, man. You'll have more people. Of course, you'll have a lot of people arguing too. Unless you're Clint Smith, and then hardly anybody argues with Clint. So, YouTube as a business is providing something that people want and will pay for. Okay? In YouTube, it's a matter of YouTube acting as your agent, carrying your product, charging advertising. Okay? And they're not charging the consumer at all, and then paying you a part of that advertising money that they brought in, because they're making money off of you. See, this is business. This is capitalism. It's good business. And they say, please stay within these guidelines. Don't do things that will offend people and, all that. And that's the rules. And you shouldn't be upset. If you have a business, are there rules? Okay, of course there are. Of course there are. And you abide by them, or you don't get to play, right? I'm thinking about doing, I have thought, but I don't have time, about doing a channel in a totally different venue to see if I get the same whiners. And I'll tell you right now, I have hardly any whiners. I have hardly any trolls, any problems on either one of my channels. But I hear it from and I read it on other creators. And I sometimes just can't. Some of the people out there are just something else. And I don't know whether it's just the preparedness people or what. But here on our channels, you don't run into that. We have extra sharp people here, apparently. So I guess that's the rundown on YouTube. Yeah, you don't pay anything to get on it, and if you put out something that people will watch, YouTube will eventually allow you to monetize it. There's a certain standard there. You have to reach certain numbers, and then they make money, and that's how they run their business, and they pay you a percentage of it. And the more you do, and the more people you got watching, the more money you make. And then you want to put it on the Patreon, and you can put stuff on Patreon that's not from YouTube. So Patreon is an excellent business. I mean, there are people on there making gobs of money. And why shouldn't they be? Why shouldn't they be? So what if it's not information that's going to save the world? It's information that obviously people are interested in. You see, and that's what it all is. Why? Well, I was going to say, and I did. I was going to say something about these, but I did write these to help people. These really are instruction books about how to prepare for it, how to survive, and how to rebuild after a total collapse. It's about all the preparedness lessons. So there's no way I could make YouTube videos for 100 years every day and never touch the information that's in here. And it's about people, and it's about community, and it's about justice, and it's about government, and it's about all sorts of things. You'll find history in there that you've never read in school. because it's unpopular history. So yeah, that's my thoughts on YouTube and Patreon. As long as you're not hurting anybody, what are you hurting? Why? Even these big channels that try to scare people to death. Okay, people love to be scared, right? Why do you go on roller coasters? Why do people go to haunted houses? Why do people need to read the newspapers every day? For the last 40 years that I know of, it's just been the same stuff, just to different people. Another murder in town, but people still like to watch it, right? Oh, another war on the horizon, but people still want to read about it. What's the difference with these people on YouTube? If they want to fill a niche to people who like to be scared, but of course they have this derogatory term put on them, fear porn. If they want to make videos that scare people into watching them, so what? What business is it of anyone else's? They're making a living doing something that they enjoy. And I think a lot of the criticism comes from people who haven't been able to. I don't know. I mean, it's probably different for different people, but hey, they have found something they enjoyed and built it into a business. You wouldn't criticize somebody who loved woodworking and built it into a large furniture manufacturing company, would you? Or you wouldn't criticize somebody who liked tinkering with guns who built it into his own gun company, would you? You wouldn't do that, but somehow they'll go after these big channels. They don't go after me because I'm so small. Anyway, I hope that answered your question, you who asked that, and anybody else who was interested in maybe putting it. I have suggested that so many people that I know start YouTube channels. You want some extra income? Start a YouTube channel. You're going to find an audience that will want to watch you. And what would an extra $500, $1,000 a month hurt coming in to you? Would that hurt? You don't want that? Look, the more out there, the better, I think. Everybody's got different experiences. Everybody has different opinions. You're going to find people that want to hear about yours and hear your opinions and discuss it. So get out there. This is one of the great things about the time. People talk about censorship. Gosh, you can turn, after you're done watching this, you can take your phone and point it at yourself and say, give your opinion on pretty much anything. Not everything, but so many things, anything that you're interested in, and punch it up on YouTube, and people all over the world can watch it if they want to. How cool is that, right? How amazing is that? So anyway, I hope that answered your question. Remember, and if you guys over on Integrated Preparedness have not, if you want to see that thing on West Point, it is truly disgusting. Go to American Reversion. Again, because this is business. This is brought to you by the Stone Mount series, my books. If you haven't read them, you should. I think you'll really like them. People all over the world have. And you can become a Stone Mount